Hi everyone. Thanks for enrolling my courses over YouTube and over Udemy channels. Now I have partnership with Unacademy Graphy, and you can go to networkers.graphy.com where you can get my latest courses on automation. As you know that the next big thing we have in the networking field is automation and cloud computing. So courses related to automation, courses related to cloud computing, you will get on this particular Unacademy Graphy platform. Thanks for joining. Today we are inside day number 10, and today we have one very interesting topic, Cisco SD-WAN Viptela. Inside that Viptela policy, and inside this policy, we know that VS Smart is working as a brain, is working as a policy engine within the fabric. So now we know that different controllers having different work. vManage is someone where you can go and create everything. Means you can create the policy from vManage. From vManage you can push to vSmart, and then vSmart it will get pushed to the S devices or other devices, branches devices, right? So now what is unique there in Cisco SD-WAN Viptela policies? Now the parent means the thought process. Always, whenever you are studying any technology, you just go and try to check the thought process of that particular technology. If you catch the thought process, then you will catch the technology. So what was the thought process? We know that Cisco, they started creating routers. They have created gateway devices. So their initial business, Cisco initial business was on routing. They have created this routers and then other protocols they merge within their operating system and all. Later on, they acquire a company called Catalyst. So that's why initial version of switches, you can see they are running with CAT operating system, Catalyst operating system. So Catalyst 6500, actually all those switching thing, even data center things, Cisco has acquired some company. So Nexus was some other company Cisco acquired and rebranded. Switch, they have uh, acquired that company, rebranded, and likewise they have done, I think, more than 200 acquisition. We can check how many company they have acquired and rebranded, etc. So nowadays, some people are telling, isn't Cisco doing any new innovation and all? So answer is that they are taking some some product from the market, they acquire that product, and then they are adding features into it. Sometimes they are successful in that, sometimes they are not successful in this. But either way, they are successful or they are not successful. Their sales, marketing, and other groups are too good. So whatever they are acquiring, they have the customer. So you may heard about IWAN, intelligent WAN. So all the company, all the vendors, all the new companies, for example, Silver Peak, uh, VMware, n number of SD-WAN, Citrix SD-WAN, FortiGate SD-WAN, maybe Palo Alto SD-WAN and all started doing innovation in software-defined networking, and Cisco has started doing innovation in intelligent WAN. So Cisco was telling that, oh, we have N-bar, network-based application recognition engine. We have DMVPN, VPN technology. So what are the features you have in SD-WAN? In SD-WAN, what top features you have? You have independent transport, right? Means irrespective of broadband, 4G, MPLS, etc. These devices, they are forming the IPsec tunnel. Then what other features you have? You have application awareness, right? Then you have some sort of controllers from where you can go and create the policies, etc., etc. And then long list of features. So when Cisco, they modified their WAN, so they started with intelligent WAN, and they have introduced one software that was Epic EM. Epic EM was the software that Cisco has developed for intelligent WAN. Now you can see how the things moving, how the technology moving within the Cisco. Epic WAN was, I think I have some videos on Epic WAN as well. At this present time, maybe few of the customer they are still using IWAN. Yeah, still not maybe 100%. Customers are there is still using IWAN. They are still using Epic EM software, and now they are migrating from IWAN to SD-WAN. So the point here is this, that Cisco has chosen the route for IWAN, and all of a sudden all companies they are starting SD-WAN, big buzz for SD-WAN. So then they go and then they acquire company Viptela, and then they rebranded Viptela SD-WAN as a Cisco SD-WAN. But still, what was the main theme? Still the theme was there that Cisco technology is very good doing routing. So whatever technology that Cisco has done in terms of enterprise infra, they are revolving around the routing. You know, all the technology, even the IWAN, also IWAN inside IWAN, you have this DMVPN. They need some tunnels, they need some cryptography, but still routing is very. So one thing you can say in Cisco that their routing part is very much mature. Now once these folks who has created this Viptela SD-WAN, they are working in Cisco for maybe 15-20 years, the founders of Viptela. That means their routing was also very, very good. So considering routing in picture, they have developed their entire framework. And that's why you will see that within the Viptela or Cisco SD-WAN, the VSmart, actually this is the policy plane, but 80 to 90% of the thing that it is doing is related to routing policies, routing enhancement and all. And that's the reason you will see that there are so many things that we can do with the VSmart in terms of routing. And that's why this particular topic will become little bit difficult, or in other words, you can say that hard to digest. So let's start getting confused and let's start learning the policy. Let's go to slide number 2 and let's see what we have. So now here you can see the top slide, that policy we can go and create, and within that policy you can see that we have two part: control policy and data policy. Now within control policy itself you can see centralized policy and localized policy. In data policy you can see centralized policy and localized policy. Now just to make this easy, control means routing, and data means that at the moment close to device. Data policy is actually very easy, and there are overlapping in between the control policy and data policy in terms of that few services are there, they are very close. For those services you can go and create either data policy or you can create control policy. Now both these policy, who is the orchestrator for these policy? Obviously these policy you have to go and create at the level of VSmart. Again, behind the scene, you are logging to vManage and creating, pushing to VSmart, and then VSmart using OMP, right? All the edge devices are OMP peer to VSmart. So VSmart will go and use OMP protocol to push these policies to the V edge, right? So up to this point, you have any doubt?
No doubts.
No doubts, right? Great. So we have VS Smart, and from VS Smart, now let's only focus on VS Smart. So VS Smart, we can go and create control policy and data policy. Now where we have slight confusion, that you can see either it's a data policy or control policy, it has two parts, centralize and localize. So when you read that policy, it will be centralize control policy, localize control policy. Likewise, centralize data policy and then localize data policy. So it's like whenever that policy you will create, you have to think that is it centralized control policy or it is localized control policy. And later on when we'll go and create this policy, you will understand more about that. So is there a very easy way that we can distinguish that the difference between the centralized policy and the localized policy? Because as name suggests, the centralized policy, we are thinking, oh, centralized policy, that means that we can go and create from VS Smart and it may have global effect, means fabric changes we can do and all. Localized policy, it may sound that we can still create, actually everything we are creating from vManage again, pushing to VS Smart, and then VS Smart is pushing to the edge devices, right? V as a CS. So localized policy, it sounds like this, that you can go and create from vManage, then push to VS Smart, and then it will go to VH. But this is not a correct statement. Later on, you will, when we'll go and log into the dashboard, you'll find that we have different tab to create the centralized policy, and we have different tab to create the localized policy. Now this localized policy, and again within the vManage, now this localized policy, you have to go and add a template, and this central policy will go and push via the OMP update. Okay, so that's the confusing thing we have. So don't worry, later on we'll understand these things. So these localized policy, again to make a difference, whenever you see something related to routing, whenever you see something related to routing, that is part of control, because control means routing. Let me write here, control means routing. This route policy you can see, so localize route policy. Later on we have lab related to that. So you may have two type of routing policy, two types of control policy. One of the control policy, you can create vSmart, and with help of OMP, it will be pushed to edge device. Again, you are creating to vManage, activating to vSmart, and then it is pushing to the edge device. Other thing also, you are creating to vSmart, but vManage, but vManage within the template, we are putting this as a additional feature. Okay, so you can see clearly here that you have the policy and how the policy is applied to the device. Localized policy to the device. So localized policy means local to the device. So it will be creating as a template, and then it is pushed to the push as a additional feature template. Now, you may ask one question. So isn't that we can go to the VS Smart and create the data policy? The answer is yes. You can go and create data policy at the level of VS Smart, and that's the confusing thing. So later on, you'll come to know that within VS Smart, we can go and create both the policy, control policy and data policy. But sorry, I'm getting some pop-up. But you will see that the data policy, again, you have some local policy, and in that local policy, you can update in template, and then from that template, it will be pushed to the device. So thin line is there, right? Once you will start working on this policy, then you will understand 100%. Okay, but what we will do, we'll do this approach. This approach is something like repetition. We will try to repeat this again and again, that how control policy is creating, pushing, how data policy we can go create and push, etc. And we'll understand slowly when we'll do the lab. Okay, so I'm going to tell you the difference in between the difference in between the control and data policy. So we can memorize that. I need one, yes, slide here. So you have VS Smart, and let me do one thing. You have control policy and you have data policy. At the moment, we'll leave that localized part out of picture. Okay. So both control policy and data policy, you can go and you can use VS Smart, you can create both. No problem. Okay. If they are the central policy. Behind the scene, in the back of our brain, these are the central policies. These are the central policy. Now, three differences I'm going to tell you. Very important differences. First of all, the control policy is unidirectional. They are bidirectional. What does it mean? Once you apply it is in to out, out to in. It is either in or out. Like that. We'll see that direction means. What does it mean by direction? Second thing, control policy, I told you earlier, is a type of routing policy. Here it may be routing policy, it may not be routing policy, but in general, control policy is routing policy. Third, very important, I'll make us 2 stars here. Very important point, that the control policy that we have will reside at the level of VS Smart. So the policy you are creating, if you go and check show control policy in VS Smart, it will tell you that what policy is this. But data policy will be downloaded. If you say data policy, so VEdge or CEdge device will go and download that policy within the edge devices. Okay, so from here we have rise of one of the important topic about CAE. C stands for configure, A stands for apply, E stands for execute. So if you are doing CAE, and now you understand the scenario. So if you do configure and apply, okay, and that policy will get executed with level of VEdge. So that means that is a data policy. But if you configure, so if CAE will happen at the level of VS Smart only, that means that is control policy. Okay, so this CAE, if you configure and apply, but if it will get executed to the edge device, that will be data policy. if everything will happen at the level of vSmart, that will be control policy. And I have one slide, dedicated slide for this. So let me quickly show you that slide. Let's go. Yeah, here you can see configure, apply, and execute. You can see configure. Oops, I lost that. Yeah. So you can see here that we have terms configure, apply, execute. So suppose app route policy. So if for app route policy, configure and apply is happening at the level of vSmart, but the policy execution is happening at the level of vEdge. So that means app route policy is a data policy. Likewise, net flow or C flow template policy. So if C and A will happen at the level of vSmart, and the execution means that these policy will get downloaded by the vEdge. You can go to vEdge and you can see policy, and you can see that is there downloaded. Okay. So if this thing will happen, here you can see this data policy. Obviously, data policy itself is a data policy. So the execution will happen at the level of edge device. Apart from that, you can see this control policy itself is a control policy. Why? Because CAE is happening at the level of vSmart. VPN membership policy, you can see CAE. That means this policy is residing within the vSmart device. They are the owner. They are the whole and soul of that particular policy. Okay. So let's go back to the primary slide that we have here. And I will ask you a question that please tell me that the difference between the control and data policy.
The control policy is the routing.
Control policy is a routing policy. That's right. Other differences?
Also, that the control policy is well, it depends if it's centralized or if it's localized, I guess. Like you're having a diagram here. If it's centralized, it's gonna go through the vSmart, the OMP, and then to the vEdge, right? And if it's localized, it's gonna be a template, additional features, and it affects a single interface or a single router.
Okay. So three major difference between the control and data policy. One very important thing here is the direction. So once you apply the control policy, that will be
Unidirectional.
unidirectional.
Then bidirectional is for the data policy.
And again, there is so much confusion related to direction. So vSmart and vEdge, there is only two direction, in or out. So when the direction is out, that means policy direct flow is from vSmart to vEdge. When the direction is in, then the policy flow is from vEdge to vSmart. Like inward to vSmart and outward to vSmart. It's like that. In and out. Out means the policy flow is outward to vSmart. From vSmart, it is going to the edge devices. And in means that it is coming towards the vSmart. Okay. So that is one very important thing. The other very important thing, I told you that the edge, this data policy, right? the data policy will be downloaded via the devices. So when we'll go and create our data policy, you will see that we'll go to the data, means we'll go to the edge devices and we'll type some command that show via smart policies, etc. And it will show you that policy has been downloaded via the edge devices, right? So the CAE will happen at the level of edge devices, means CA will happen with respect to VS Smart, but execution will happen at the level of VH, right? But in this case, CAE will happen to the VS Smart. All right, so we are very good understanding the policy. Again, more and more we'll understand when we create the policy, when we'll go and apply the policy. But before reaching to that place, what we can do, that let's try to understand a little bit more about these policies. So when we are talking about policy, for example, route policy, when you are creating route policy, then, oh my God, I'm getting pop-ups. Just give me 1 second. A route policy, right? So the route policy that we are creating, what are the construct? How we are creating? So maybe we have some IP prefix list or IP address, IP access list, etc. So we are doing like this: route policy permit 10 match IP address ABC. Maybe set the IP next hop ABC, right? And then we are going to route map or route policy, whatever, just route policy 20, permit 20, and then whatever default statement, right? Likewise, when we'll go and create the policy, this policy, either it is a control policy or it is a data policy. That means it should have some construct. So what are the building blocks of the policy? How the policy is building? In that policy, do we have to define some sort of IP prefix list, or do we have to define some sort of list related to site ID, list related to VPN, list related to color, list related to TLOC, related to application and all? So actually this policy having 3 main construct 1, 2, and 3. 3 main part you can say that we have for this policy. The first part is, it is referred as a interesting traffic. So you want to create policy, right? But to whom you want to create the policy? What is the interest area? Is it the site interested? It's the prefix list interested? Is the VPN interested? Is the color interested? Etc. etc. What is the area of interest? That is nothing but the traffic class or traffic. For what is the traffic you want to write the policy for, right? The second part is that, is your policy control policy or is your policy is data policy? Either you will create control policy or you will create data policy. And the third part of this thing is apply. Now, the good thing about this apply is that 100% of time we are applying the policy to the site. Okay, 100% of the time we are applying the policy to the site, because apply policy is site specific. Always we are applying the policy to the site. Okay, so now we understand so many things, and I don't want to go too deep inside all these things in day number 1 because this is a little bit tricky. So if we have this slide here, let's quickly try to summarize that what we have studied. So if I go here and make a short note, So we know that we have policy. I'll just write P for policy, and then we have two policy, right? What are those? You tell, I will write. Yeah.
Control and data.
Control and data.
Control policy, data policy, right? And then this control and data policy having two parts. What are those?
There's local and central.
Yeah, centralized policy and localized policy, right? Local and central.
Correct.
Centralized and localized, right? Now, the central policy. So this control policy is nothing but the routing policy. Now, so this central policy that we are creating related to control policy, right? Tell me the action related to CAE. Configure, apply,
And then execute.
execute. Yeah, right. Execute, right? So the CAE, where it will happen. So for the control policy, what is the CAE? At the level of?
VS Smart.
At the level of VS Smart, 100% right. But for the data policy, CA will happen at the level of VS Smart, but the execution will happen at the level of VEdge, right? And data policy will be downloaded by the VEdge or CS devices. Correct? One other very important thing we have studied, that the control policy, when you apply this is unidirectional. And the data policy, when we are applying this, is bidirectional. So sometimes if you want less number of policy applied, so we are creating data policy instead of control policy, because once you apply, it will be from VS Smart to VEdge. That's nothing but the out direction. And then from VS to VS Smart is nothing but the in direction. So out and in direction. Okay, only one thing we haven't covered here in this particular slide is this. What is the type of central policy? So the routing central policy or the control central policy type is control policy itself is a control policy. Then you have VPN membership policy. Those are part of control policy, but there are good amount of example, like we can go and create service chaining, we can go and create route leaking policies, anything specific to routing that is stick with control policy. Okay, then we have data policies. So what will be the example for data policy? The one of the best example for data policy is app route policy. Then we have good example for data policy is CFlow or NetFlow templates or policy. Then data policy itself is a data policy. Apart from that, device specific policies such as QoS, such as access list, those type of things are belonging to data policy. Okay. And then today we have discussed about policy construct. So this policy having three construct. What is the interesting traffic? What is the traffic you want to write the policy? These will be the list. So list of site ID, list of prefix list, data prefix list, color list, app list, tlock list, etc., etc. This will be the list. We have long list. We may have VPN list. We may have color list. We may have site list. We may have app list. We may have tlock list, and so on. Then policy construct, either you are creating the data policy or control policy, DNC, data policy, control policy. And then you're applying the policy. When you apply the policy, 100% of time, 100% of time, it is with respect to site ID. We are always applying the policy specific to site. Okay, and now this either data or control policy, the construct is very much like a route map, a policy map, route map that we are creating in Cisco devices. These policy you have to go and create in a sequence, like permit 10, permit 20, permit 30, like that. We're not using permit like route map, but they are logically, they are like this. You go and create policy for 10, then 20, then 30, then 40, then 50 and 60s. And by the end of the policy, you have something called default statement. So in policy 10, you can match something, take action. 20, match something, take action. Sometimes in my previous classes, I used to use a word. So either control policy or data policy, I used to use a word called MAD. MAD means that you can go to sequence number 10 and use MA, either match and then take action. So MAD means that D stands for default. So you can go to sequence, say sequence number 10, you do match and take action. Then you can go to sequence number 20, match and take action. And then by the end of policy, sequence number maybe 100, you have something called default action. Default action will be always block. So you can go and change that nature. You can make it as a accept, or you can make as a reject, either accept or reject. Default action you can do. Here you can go and match something, match the color, take action, match the site ID, take action, match the VPN, take action. Okay, so these are the policy construct. And in the next class, I will show you that. I have example for this. So let's quickly see here. So we have policy, control policy, routing policy, data policy is specific to the device. So control policy, data policy. In between that, we have centralized and localized policies. Then the construct of the policy. What are the constructs we have? We have list. We have to go and define the policy, and then where you want to apply the policy, inward, outward, always specific to the site. So we know that thing. This is one of the nice place where you can get the information related to A, B, and C. So list means interesting traffic. So what is the interesting traffic that you will come to know within the list? Data prefix list, site list, TLOC, VPN, color, app, etc., etc. In policy definition, what type of policy is this? Is this a control policy or data policy? Is it app route policy, cFloat, control, data, VPN, etc.? And then you have to go and apply that policy. Apply 100% of time with respect to site ID or site list. Okay. So these things we have discussed today, and then the direction I told you, the in and out direction. So out direction, you can see clearly that from VS Smart, it is going to VS. This is the out direction. In direction is towards the VS Smart, inbound to the V Smart. So this direction we have discussed. And then finally, we have discussed about this CAE thing, configure, apply, and execute. If execute will happen at the level of the edge, that means that is the data policy. Okay, so I don't want to go across this thing because this is for day one. In next class, I will go and show you that how you can go and create the policy. We'll go and create one policy. Entire one class, we'll go and create only one policy, because I have to go and explain you about these things. What is data prefix list? What's the use of that? We know prefix list, like we are creating in Cisco, IP prefix list or access list. These are also the same thing, but here you have some new terms like site list, TLOC list, VPN list. And what's the use? Why we are creating such type of list? Even you can see the policy that we are creating. It's not like a route map and other policy in Cisco. It has its own structure. Okay, so actually in this policy you will find that it has three things. In policy construct we have three part or three portions. So in this slide you can see that three portion. One portion that you have to go and define the interesting traffic, that is the list. So this is portion number 1 or A. Then you have to go and define either it's a control policy or data policy. So here you are defining the control or data policy. This is part B. Here you can see sequence and match and the action, right? Match action, and then by default there is one default statement that will be reject. So that will be the part 2, and then part 3 is that you have to go and apply. So when you're applying, you can see 100% of time it's restricted to site ID or site list. It's basically site list. And then you can go and give the direction either in or out. Okay. So the policy, how we can go and create the list. We'll go and create one policy called hub and spoke tomorrow. And we will discuss the logic, the construct, everything, but it's little bit time consuming and little bit difficult thing in Cisco SD-WAN, this policy. But if we master in the policy, then SD-WAN is finished. Then you can move to other technology like DNAC or ACI or maybe other thing like automation and all. If you know policy, because already you know template. Template is what? Simply configuring the interfaces, configuring the NTP, whatever we used to do via the CLI, right? Configuring BGP, configuring SNMP, configuring the AAA configuration, doing some NTP config, etc., etc. So the difficulty level to create the template is maybe 2 to 3%. It's not more than that, because if you create the template 5, 6, 7, 8 times, you will be master in creating the templates, and it's one-time job. Create the templates with variable, save it. The main thing and main capability and power we have is actually the policy. How you will go create the policy, because we have certain restrictions as well in the policy. So policy will give you features like application aware routing policy. Policy will give you features such as application aware firewalling features. Policy you can do service redirection. Policy you can do service chaining. Policy you can do traffic engineering. Policy you can go and do route leaking. Policy you can go and do some sort of filtering. Suppose OSPF and OMP, we are doing redistribution. So we don't want that all the prefixes in OMP will go and inject in OSPF. So we can go and create some sort of route policy in that we can block certain prefixes. We can do some use of tagging. We can use use of preferences, and also everything, all the tuning you can do with respect to policy. All right. If you have any question, please feel free to ask. Hi, everyone. Thanks for enrolling my courses over YouTube and over Udemy channels. Now I have partnership with Unacademy Graphy, and you can go to networkers.graphy.com, where you can get my latest courses on automation. As you know that the next big thing we have in the networking field is automation and cloud computing. So courses related to automation, courses related to cloud computing, you will get on this particular Unacademy Graphy platform.